prima facie right but to come to this court. I am therefore satisfied that I am, with the information in front of me and the argument that I've heard, I can grant an interim order to remain the status quo pending finalization of the main dispute, which is what this fund is, ultimately. Let me turn to costs. Mr. Sibu argued that Alexander Forbes must pay the costs because they did not want to give information and relied on the Poppy Act, and also was here, and due to the discrepancies in the policy document and the statement, the matter had to be adjourned. And I take a different view. My concern is more deeply rooted. And my concern is this, that a company that takes on an investment of 44.7 million rands, well knowing that this money is important money. First of all, it's a lot of money. And secondly, lots of people depend on what will happen to the money. Then comes the court when they see they have been served with the papers. They see that there is now a dispute. And they should have perceived that this dispute, because it's crystallized in the papers, concerns what is this now? Is it pension or is it a policy? They decided to come to court and say they abide the court's decision. I don't think that is the correct manner to have done it. It is as if you cause problems and then you want to turn away and leave the problems to be resolved by other people. In my mind, Alexander Forbes, with respect, could have much earlier seen the problem and given an explanation, instead of coming here and saying they abide the decision of the court. If you take the responsibility of managing so much money, giving advice to people, I think you have more to do than when there is a dispute, you just come to court and say, I have nothing to say. Therefore, I think that it is warranted that Alexander Forbes be ordered to pay the costs of last week, Tuesday. I'm not going to order costs on a punitive scale, only because they said they do not oppose the application, but they were here. So I'm going to grant costs against Alexander Forbes on a party and party scale. In the premises, this is the order that's made. The second respondent is hereby interdicted and restrained from disinvesting, transferring, or paying out any portion of the Alexander Forbes Retirement Income Solution Living Annuity Fund registration number 1997/000-595/06 with investment portfolio AFRIS investment number RIS 04842LA of the late Mr. David Dabede Mabuza, left bracket 6008255884089, right bracket, pending finalization of Part B of this application. Two, the second respondent is ordered to pay the costs of the applicants and the first respondent occasioned by the hearing of, what was the date on last week Tuesday? 23rd. 23 September 2025. 3. The parties are hereby directed to approach the registrar of this court for purposes of managing Part B of the application, and do so before 1600 hours on 15 October 2025. That is then it. There are two issues that I want to address before we proceed. One is I want to thank Council. It was a privilege to engage with you and to deal with the law and also deal with the facts. I want to, as not part of this judgment, the judgment is finished, I want to ask the Mabuza family, settle your dispute. We have seen so many of these kinds of disputes in courts. You know, I always ask, what would the late person do if that late person was still alive and in this courtroom? Will the arguments have been the same? What would the late person have said? The only thing that remains after all of this happens is scars between family members that never heal or take very long to heal. So my request is, humble request, please see how you can settle this dispute. Because courts are there to settle disputes, but there's always a winner and a loser. No court case, exceptional cases perhaps, have two winners. One loses, one wins. So please settle this. The next thing is I want to thank the staff and my colleagues and all the attorneys of the Mpumalanga High Court. My term as being an acting judge ends today, 30 September 2025. It ends because I have been recommended as a permanent judge already in 2021. But there are parties that are challenging that decision of the Judicial Services Commission. That decision is taken on review. That review was heard by the High Court in Johannesburg and the review application was dismissed. But those parties decided to approach the Supreme Court of Appeal. I am therefore thankful to every colleague, every attorney that appeared before me, every counsel, that we could engage each other. It has been a privilege for me to serve the peoples of Mpumalanga, and in many cases also people of a wider location, because many disputes arise in Mpumalanga, but the parties that are interested in it is all over the country. It was indeed a great privilege. Thank you so much for the time I had to serve the community. Thank you, the Court of Judges.